Hey friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully give you some new meal ideas and to motivate you to cook more for your family. I try to make about 2 to 3 new recipes every week just to keep it interesting for myself but also for y'all. And then I also throw in our usual family favorites, and I show y'all all of it to keep it real life. Sometimes we eat out, sometimes we eat cereal for dinner, and I just like to share that all with y'all because nobody is perfect and I'm not able to cook every single night like I want to. If you like these kinds of videos, I hope that you will subscribe down below. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night we did jelly and chili sauce meatballs. Growing up, my dad always made these with grape jelly and chili sauce, but as an adult, I tried making it with a pepper jelly and really liked it, so usually that's what we do. But I had a little bit of pepper jelly in my fridge that I wanted to use up, not a whole jar. It was like leftover from cheese ball at Christmas. So I did that, and then I also did some grape jelly and then just a jar of chili sauce. And then I always rinse the jar of chili sauce with water to get all of it out and add just a little bit more liquid. So I put all of that in my crock pot with about a pound of meatballs, and then I was starting this late in the day, so I put it on high and it was done in about 3 to 4 hours. Once they were done, I just stirred them around, made sure everything was nice and coated with that sauce, and then I like to serve this on top of some mashed potatoes. I just made them in the Instant Pot. I will have how I do it listed out down below for you guys. It's super easy to make mashed potatoes in the Instant Pot, and they turn out great every time. And then we also just had some green beans on the side. Saturday, Elijah requested a beef and broccoli ramen. So when I make beef and broccoli ramen, I like to air fry my broccoli separately so that it gets as cooked as we like it, because we like it pretty tender but also kind of crispy, because the air fryer is going to get it crispy, but it's like nice and tender and not like raw still, which I find like when you steam it like on the stove, it just doesn't cook how we like it. So I air fry it and I just cut it up and then drizzle it with some olive oil, put some salt and pepper on it, and then put it in the air fryer on 400 for about 15 minutes. Next, in a medium-sized bowl, I whisk together the ingredients for my sauce. I will have all of the measurements for this listed out below for you guys. So in here, I add some beef broth, some ground ginger, some sesame oil, some cornstarch, some oyster sauce, some soy sauce, preferably low sodium, some sriracha, and some hoisin sauce. And I just whisk that all together really well and set it to the side. Next, in a medium-sized skillet over medium heat, I heated up a little bit of olive oil and sesame oil together, and then once it was hot, I added in some minced garlic, and I just let that cook for about 30 seconds to a minute until it was fragrant. And then once that was fragrant, I added in my pound of ground beef. You could also use like a thin cut steak. I think we prefer it with steak, but I didn't have any thought out. I did ground beef, so we just went with ground beef. And I just continue to cook that until the meat is cooked through. Something I wanted to mention is this ground beef is from Good Chop. It was from the second box that I got from them. I actually paid for it myself, and I always want to be honest and upfront with you guys. This was my first time trying their ground beef, and I would not pick it again. Everything else that we've had has been really good quality, and like the meat was delicious. It was just like fattier than I prefer to buy. I prefer to buy like a leaner ground beef, and I can get a better price on that at Sam's Club, so I just wouldn't pick ground beef in my box again. I'm just gonna stick with some of the other cuts of meat. I just wanted to let you guys know my honest opinions on their ground beef. So once the ground beef was done cooking, I went in with paper towels and removed any of that excess grease, and as I said, there was like a lot of it. I know I cooked this in a little bit of oil, but usually I don't have this much grease to remove. And then once all that grease was removed, I added in my sauce and let it start to simmer. And I also added in the broccoli. I let the beef and broccoli simmer in the sauce for about 5 to 10 minutes. It started to thicken up really nice. You can actually make that part ahead of time and then just reheat it when you're ready for dinner and ready to cook your noodles. I cook my ramen noodles on the side. You don't use the seasoning packet. You just cook the noodles, and ramen noodles take like 2 to 3 minutes to cook. And the first time I made this recipe, I actually mixed the noodles once they were cooked in with the beef and broccoli and the sauce. But I found that we didn't eat it all. There was leftovers, and the ramen noodles really aren't good reheated the next day. So what I do now is I leave the noodles separately and just serve the beef and broccoli on top of the noodles, and then just make more noodles as needed for the leftover beef and broccoli. This is a favorite. I have made it a couple times now. We like it with both the ground beef and steak, but I think the steak one is actually our favorite. Sunday night, I actually went off of the meal plan and made something I wasn't even planning on making, but it was cold, rainy, and we expected snow this night, and I was like, we need soup. So I always have the stuff to make our favorite soup, which is sausage tortellini soup. It's super simple to make, so that is what I made, and I actually have a whole video of this on my channel, so I will leave that link down below for y'all. And I always make it with some sort of bread, and I just had a loaf of crusty Italian bread from Aldi in the freezer, but I will also link my video down below for my homemade crusty Italian bread. Monday night, I made hot Italian sliders again. I shared this recipe last month, just before Christmas, and have been wanting it again ever since I made it. So I get these brioche rolls from Aldi, and then I just cut them in half to make slider buns. And then what I'm going to do is layer some ham, salami, and pepperoni on it. And you could do mozzarella or provolone cheese. Last time I did mozzarella, this time I did provolone, and I think I do prefer it with the mozzarella though. So I did the cheese, and then on my side I did peppers. The kids don't like the peppers, so I just didn't do that for them. Do peppers on my side, and then close them up, put the lids on, the top buns, and then brush it with some garlic butter. I cover it with foil, and then this bakes in the oven at 350 for about 25 minutes, and then I like to take the foil off and stick them back in there for about 5 so they get a little bit crispy. Absolutely delicious. I love Italian subs, so this was so good. And then we just serve this with a salad on the side with more banana peppers, Parmesan cheese, tomatoes, cucumbers, carrots, and the Aldi version of the Olive Garden Italian dressing. Tuesday night, I tried a new recipe from the Super Easy Pioneer Woman cookbook, and I was able to find it online on the Food Network's website, so I will have it linked down below for you guys to get exact measurements, and I will also have the cookbook linked down there as well. So I started off by bringing some salted water to a boil, and then I cooked up 1 pound of shell pasta. She said the small ones, I just had these regular size ones from Aldi, and it worked out fine. And then I also cooked up 1 pound of ground beef, and I adapted her recipe a little bit. She wants you to cook the ground beef in oil and butter, but I don't do that with ground beef because it's already got enough fat. I'm not cooking lean ground beef, so I don't cook it in oil and butter. I just cooked it until it was done. When it was done, I removed any grease with a paper towel. There was a bit in this because, again, this was another pound of ground beef from Good Chop. So I removed the grease, and then I added in some taco seasoning. She wanted you to make your own seasoning blend with a bunch of seasonings. I just used regular old taco seasoning. And then I added in a 14.5 ounce can of petite diced tomatoes. I thought I had a can of Rotel in the cabinet, but I did not, so I had to sub the can of Rotel with these petite diced tomatoes, and it turned out fine. And I just let that simmer for a couple of minutes and started to thicken up a little bit. Then I removed that meat mixture and set it in a bowl to the side, and then in this same pan I added 2 tablespoons of butter, 2 cups of milk, and some salt and pepper, and I just let this get hot over a medium heat. Once the milk was nice and hot, I added in 8 ounces of cubed Velveeta and just let that melt. Once that Velveeta was melted, I added in some shredded cheese. She had using like cheddar and like a Colby Jack. I just used what I had in the fridge, which was cheddar and then some quesadilla cheese. So I stirred that in and let it melt. And then I added back in my meat mixture and my pasta and some chopped cilantro. Made sure everything was stirred around really well. And then this was ready to eat. I did let it sit for about 5 minutes to kind of thicken up. I didn't get a picture of our finished bowls, but it pretty much looked the same, just in a bowl. You could top it with some salsa, you could top it with some sour cream. We just ate it as it was, and it was really delicious. Definitely one of the best like taco cheesy pastas that I've ever had. Wednesday night we had a breakfast for dinner. The kids actually requested this because they knew that my husband Andy was going to be out of town and he doesn't like breakfast for dinner very much. So as soon as they knew that he was going out of town, they were like, can we have breakfast? So I cooked up some bacon for us to have, and I knew I wanted some for the next night's dinner as well. So I got a big pack of bacon, and it took up 2 sheet pans. I like to do my bacon in the oven. So I just line it all up on the 2 sheet pans, and then this cooked. I put it in a cold oven on 400, and then it takes 15 to 20 minutes depending on how crispy you like your bacon. I like mine pretty crispy, so it usually takes closer to the 20 minutes. While my bacon was cooking, I worked on my waffles. The kids requested blueberry waffles, so that is what I'm making. And as with all the other recipes that I mentioned, the recipes will be linked in the description box with the exact measurements. So in a very large bowl, I started mixing together my dry ingredients. For that, I did some flour, some baking powder, some sugar, and some salt, and then I just whisked that all together to make sure it was combined. And in most recipes like this, they want you to do your wet ingredients separate, but I never do that. I just add it right into the dry ingredients. So I added some eggs, some milk, and some vanilla, and some melted butter, and just whisked all that together. It is going to be lumpy, but you just mix it till it's all kind of combined. And then I folded in 1 pint of blueberries. Then I just cooked these according to my waffle maker's instructions. I sprayed it with some non-stick cooking spray, and I have the Cuisinart griddler, and then I have the extra like waffle plates that you can get. And for the waffle plates, it says to do 1 1/4 cup of batter, so that's what I add. For the longest time, I didn't know how much batter, and I was always adding too much or too little, but 1 1/4 cup, and they turn out perfect every time. I actually doubled the waffle recipe, so I had to do this like multiple times. I think I did like 6 batches of waffles. But anytime that I make waffles, I always double the recipe or make extra so that I can freeze them for a quick breakfast in the morning. To go with our waffles and bacon, I made some scrambled eggs with cheese. So I took some of that bacon grease that was left over on the pan and just added it to my hot cast iron skillet. And then I had whisked together some eggs with some salt and pepper. And I just pour those right into my cast iron skillet. And when I cook the eggs, I like to cook them on like a medium low so they don't cook too fast, because it's really easy to like overcook eggs. And when they're like just about all the way set, I turn off the heat, add some cheese on top. I did some cheddar cheese and some American cheese, and then I just put a lid on it, and like the residual heat from the pan just continues to cook the eggs the rest of the way through. Thursday night, I made a bacon cheeseburger pie. I have made this in the past, but I did not include bacon in it. But I knew I wanted to this time, and that is why I made extra bacon the night before. So I started off by just browning up 1 pound of ground beef with seasonings of choice. I did some salt and pepper, some Trader Joe's onion salt, and some garlic powder. So while my beef was cooking, I whisked together my ingredients for my crust. So I did 2 eggs, 1 cup of milk, 2 tablespoons of Lipton onion soup mix, and half a cup of Bisquick. Once my beef was brown, there really wasn't too much grease left over because this was that meat from Sam's Club instead of the good chopped meat. But if you do have some excess grease in there, you want to make sure you drain most of that off. And then I added in about 2 tablespoons of ketchup, about a tablespoon of mustard, and a couple tablespoons of pickle juice, and just stir that around to mix it. And then I added in some chopped up bacon. It was about 4 pieces of bacon from the night before. And then I topped this with some cheese. I did some cheddar and some American. And then that crust mixture that I made before gets poured on top. If you're not making this in a cast iron pan, you're going to want to transfer your meat mixture to a 9-inch pie plate, then top it with cheese, and then put your crust mixture on top. But I made it in the cast iron pan. That way it was like less dishes, and it turned out great. This baked in the oven on 375 for about 25 minutes, and this is what it looked like when it was done. Nice and golden and crispy. And I just let it sit for about 5 minutes before cutting into it, and we served this with some salad on the side. That is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you got some new ideas of some things to try, let me know down below what you plan on trying. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all on the next one. Bye!